Hey guys, Rachel from Past Building Consultants here. Today we're going to take a quick look at external paths of travel for specialist disability accommodation premises and the things to look out for on your site plan. We've covered internal clear widths on a couple of other videos in different aspects, and I thought we'd cover external pathways today just in terms of the widths required, because a lot of the blocks these days are smaller than they used to be. And also with things like villas and townhouses, you may be looking at approaching some of the dwellings, or all of the dwellings, along maybe a little side alleyway. It may not necessarily be from your front boundary with a nice clear garden. So not in all situations will you have a lot of space in order to achieve your external access way. And obviously, depending on which category you're designing for, you could be looking at a clear width of up to 1200 millimeters. If you have specific participant criteria, then you may be asked to go even wider than that. So you might have to go above and beyond what's in the SDA requirements. So making sure that you have allowed for any encroachments onto that external access way is going to really save you a lot of dramas and headache and worry further down the track if you get it nailed at design stage. So the sorts of things to look out for, I have got them on the board here. Hopefully it's large enough that you can read it, but if you need me to cover anything, then by all means get in touch with me and I'll be more than happy to explain in a bit more detail or have a chat about things. So first thing to look out for is fence posts. On a 1 to 200 site plan, usually the fence is shown as just a line, but in reality, of course, it's fence posts, it's the palings, it's the rails, and all of those things take up space, physical space. It's not a line on a drawing. So make sure that you have allowed for an allowance for posts if they are on your path of travel. Again, it may not be applicable, but as I say, if it's a narrow site, if you're having to go along the sides of buildings, it may well be something you need to consider. So fence posts. Also making sure that the contractors know that the fence has got to go in exactly this location, because sometimes they'll vary it very slightly, and that could be critical in terms of whether you comply or not. So making sure that the guys on site also know that for SDA properties, these sorts of issues are critical. Shade sail and roof posts. Again, consider where those are going. On a site plan, they may be really tiny and quite hard to distinguish. So again, just make sure that you have considered where they're going and making sure that they're not going to be in the way of your external path of travel. Aircon condensers and other services. So you need a height of 2 meters along your path of travel, and that 2 meters mustn't include anything. So things like aircon units, if you've got an aircon unit up here and it's encroaching onto your path of travel, then that path of travel doesn't comply. So again, just be mindful of where services are going, particularly aircon units, meter boxes, hot water services as well. Because the smaller blocks, it's really tough to kind of find places to put them. Yeah, just be mindful that you get them away from your path of travel to the dwelling. Or also any common area that people need to gain access to. So if you're also providing other access ways to common areas, you'll need to make sure that those are clear as well. Window and screen boxes, and also cyclone bars as well is a big one. They're not necessarily going to be shown on the site plan for you to measure against, but in reality, a building has got all these little bits and pieces that will need to be accounted for, and you're going to be looking at the most external of those bits and pieces, which could be a window box. It could be handles on things as well. It could be cyclone bars on windows or doors, depending on what your wall construction is. They can actually project further out. So just be mindful of those sorts of things when you're looking at design. And again, designers, just be mindful that those sorts of things can suddenly make a building non-compliant if they haven't been considered, or you're building really, really tight to what the width requirements are, and you haven't allowed any flexibility for either slight deviances on site or deviations on site, or maybe a different specification of material. One window manufacturer as opposed to another one, they may have a difference of maybe 5 or 10 millimeters in how far out their cyclone bars stick out. So you just be a bit careful that you're not designing to the absolute minimum, if you can possibly help it. Rainwater downpipes is another one. You know, you don't necessarily know what size they're going to be at design stage when you get the plans, what size the brackets are going to be, or exactly where they're going to be located. So again, just be careful that if you're looking at quite narrow access ways, that all of those things have been considered. And of course, handrails and curbs, that should be an obvious one, and most people would allow for those, and that shouldn't be too much of a drama. So wouldn't be too concerned about that, as long as you can see them on there if you need them for ramps and walkways, and that obviously the types of handrails and curbs are compliant, and they haven't necessarily deviated from what was on the plan, because again, they may not have decided what types of handrail they're going to use, what sort of brackets they're going to use, and just be mindful that at design stage, yes, it might comply, but is it still going to comply at completion stage, and has an allowance been made and all those things being considered, so that you're not going to get a problem later down the track. So I hope that's been useful. Do get in touch if you have any dramas or queries about anything. I'm here to help, and if I can't help you, I will find someone who can. Have a great day. Speak to you soon. Bye.